Simply Youth Ministry podcast. This live recording is brought to you by Doug Fields, Josh Griffin, Natalie Johnson, and Matt McGill. This feast of the years has just enough youth ministry so you don't feel guilty for listening. Be warned, this podcast is not for the faint of heart or the mentally weak. Since that describes most of humanity, you may want to go ahead and turn it off right now. Enjoy.
Okay, people are watching now, so you guys, those of you that play to the camera.
Like that.
To decide that the things that I tried were in my life just to get high on. When I sit alone, come get a little known, but I need more than myself this time. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and I do believe that we rely on. When I lay it on, come get to play it on.
There you go.
How fun. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, that's nice music.
Another
That is
Simply
good
Youth
music.
Ministry podcast, actually number 40.
This is
Doug
it.
Fields here with Josh, Natalie, and Matt. And we
Hello.
have a returning guest back in the room, one that you never really see. But Nadim, if you could move forward a little bit to be seen by our video crew. There's
Ooh,
his
a
hand.
There was his hand. Yeah.
Because what we were finding out is that I guess last week, episode 39, we had a lot of criticism because Matt was too loud. Which I
didn't
think
wanna
I
say anything,
I think I
but-
said during the podcast that Matt was loud, that he was overwhelming, and Matt thought, well, that's how it should be anyway.
Well, you always tell me that I'm so faint. You told me to turn me up, so
well,
I did.
The one time I actually listened to it, I could barely hear you. So
The
it's
one
good.
time.
It's good to have Nadim here.
Yes.
Nadim back at the helm,
At
my
some
professional sound
point,
man.
maybe it was Andy telling me that we have 50,000 downloads or something like that of the show, that we ought to at least
Yeah, take it a little more seriously.
at least
or-
have somebody that has
Yeah.
some engineering idea.
That's the smallest
And-
Starbucks
yeah.
coffee I've ever seen.
And I'm not sure Nadim has any
Yeah.
idea. But you get new headphones?
Those are nice.
Okay.
Little
Gosh,
Those are
you
not
guys,
as
there
nice
is
as
so
mine.
much cooking right now.
There is.
One
They're not bugs.
is Josh is depressed
I am terribly
He's-
depressed
today. Two, next week is our anniversary, 1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary of the show.
And
Awesome.
three, I'm reading the newspaper this morning,
24?
and the
Last week you brought it
local news. Do you know this, Andy?
Andy's famous.
Our very
Oh,
own
really?
Andy Brazelton
Really?
is in.
You've already seen it.
That is why I'm going to read it
Why
right here.
wouldn't you walk in and tell us about that?
Andy
Oh,
is
he's
made
so
the
humble. That's
newspaper.
awesome.
It's about this bike ride where the
Yes.
local bike riders raised more than $29,000 for Project Rwanda.
He's so loud, isn't he?
Project
And
Rwanda.
event co-founder Doug Grant organized the event with his friend Andy Brazelton.
Andy
Oh.
Bonzelton.
Brazel.
And it goes on. Andy's even quoted in here as saying, "Mountain bikers really are communal and love doing things together."
Mountain bikers are communal. That makes
Said-
me want to join the sport. Right
Said
there.
Brazelton. He
Because
got.
there's only like 7 of them and they don't have any other friends.
It was fun to challenge ourselves and say how we could do this and blow our goal out of the water.
Wow.
Brazelton said.
What water was it in?
$7,500 is what we wanted to
You
raise.
wanted to raise
You wanted to raise
7,500 and now
$7,500.
you got 29 grand.
Actually, 31.
39.
31. It's still trickling in.
And I didn't even know about this, Andy. It shows how much I know about your life. When did you guys do
Can I
this?
write a check right
December
now?
30th.
December 30th. My
250
birthday.
riders.
My-
Yeah, you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. I wish I'd have been invited because I'd have showed up. 202
Yeah.
riders. And look,
You sure
look at
would
the
have.
shot of Andy. And there's all these mountain bike riders.
Oh, wow.
And Andy's got his little beanie on.
He's
and
a street. Look at him, totally hip.
I,
Yeah,
was,
that's
I would
cool.
think I was praying there.
you're
I
not
think he was
even.
taking a
You're
leak.
not. Your face isn't
Let's
even
see.
seen. His head's down. The
Are
whole
you
bit.
at Cook's Corner there?
He's praying, and he's got
Why
all
don't
the right
we? Why don't
gear
we?
on.
Can we link to this?
If it's on, if the
50milерide.com.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, that's
Now,
the
is this
website.
part of the Purpose Driven Nation project?
Nope.
Okay. Just curious.
Completely separate.
Purpose-driven nation.
Well, it's
That's
Rwanda.
funny.
Perfect country or whatever, right?
All right, so
Yeah,
Andy,
first.
big time. That was fun. And
Congratulations,
Wow.
Amy.
I forgot to
That's
start. I was so
really cool.
excited
That's a
to get
big deal.
started before you knew you were in there that I forgot to start this thing. Now, do we want to pause and talk about why you're depressed?
I'm not depressed.
You're
I
down.
would like to
Show
talk
have
about
no
it.
idea what you're even talking about right
You're
now.
down. I can
No,
tell.
they would know. It's obvious.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if they would know, but we know.
I think they would
I'm
sense
fine.
a lowering of excitement.
I'm fine.
Okay, let's
I'm
do
good.
this.
Do
Let's
you have
just do
some
this.
tension with somebody in the room?
Let's just
No.
raise our hand if we think that Josh is down.
Oh, we all
he's saying
know.
he's fine. Okay, he's
Yeah.
saying he's fine.
We all
He's
know.
not saying he's not down. He's saying he is fine.
Oh,
That's completely different.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not saying he's feeling normal.
I,
You have to read between the lines.
you don't have to,
Or read
you don't
between
have
the
to be
lines.
happy every day. Some people are
That's true.
are down all the time,
I respect
and
that.
this just happens to be a day where I don't want to talk as much. I want to be a listener, and
You want to be a
Is
learner.
this a part of your experiment?
should we refrain from making fun of you then?
I'm fine.
will it spiral you
No,
down?
I'm totally fine.
No. Okay. All right.
I nearly just threw this onto that blessed article about Andy.
Well, I
don't
wanted
want
to
that.
start by
Thank you.
telling our friend Dan, who I said that I would be praying for last week, who lost his 3-month-old daughter to SIDS, that I just wanted to say, Dan, I hung on to your email and prayed for you throughout the week, and would love to know more about how you and your family are doing
Yeah,
that.
we didn't hear from Dan this week, so hopefully he'll get listen to the show and shoot us.
Yeah.
an
Well, you know what?
email.
Because
Yeah,
we took some
obviously
time off.
we mean if you've got the time and all that stuff.
Well,
we're not
because-
expecting a
Yeah,
response.
no. But because we took a couple weeks off in the November craziness
Yeah.
with my mom's stroke and Matt's job and all that kind of stuff, we've got some emails of people saying, I thought you guys had dropped, you're back on, I'm catching up, that type of
Exactly.
thing. And
Yeah.
so since but we're on track once a week. We've got Matt's schedule. Our whole
You're
world
locked
revolves
in.
around Matt.
About
And next,
time, right?
next week will be our 1-year anniversary show. Which
And we can't even do it on the time that I can be.
That you can
we
do it?
can't do it even on Friday because Josh
Why
is
can't
going to
we
be
do it
doing
on
something.
Friday?
Josh, now you're in a good mood. You're going to be doing a game show next week.
Yeah, we're gonna go try out to be on the World Series of Pop Culture. This should be fun.
I've never heard of that. What
It's
is
a
that?
show on VH1.
It's an internet TV show.
It's really big. 4 people watch it. No, it's just a show where they ask a team of 3 questions about pop culture, and if you win, you win a little.
Oh,
money.
you're playing with a team?
Yeah. Allison and Josh, a couple of our friends, are gonna be on.
Josh Elliott?
That's Doug Elliott.
Doug Elliott?
I don't even know a person
Sorry.
named Josh.
That's
Elliott.
right. Natalie
Hi, Josh
doesn't
Elliott.
really, she doesn't
Sorry.
really run in that world right there.
Yeah.
Wait, Josh who?
The youth ministry world.
Josh Treese. He was an intern at Saddleback for many years,
Yeah.
and now is a youth pastor down in San Diego.
Very,
at
very
some
good
church
guy.
that I always
Sorry,
forget the name
Doug.
And
of.
Allison's on
Well,
the
this
team,
is episode number 40, and
Yeah.
we have a correction. There was Mackenzie Mullins from
Ooh.
San Angelo First Assembly of God, San Angelo, Texas, in regard to podcast 38, writes, I am a boy.
Oh, remember that?
But
When
I
we
am
couldn't
often
tell?
confused as a girl when my name is mentioned, so no hard feelings.
Thank you
for
for
reading
that,
my email on the
Mackenzie.
podcast, Mackenzie.
Will you
That's
send
a
us
cool guy's name.
Can you send us a picture to verify?
I wouldn't expect it, but that is a
This
cool
feels
guy's
like
name.
if you name a child, you should be it should be gender distinguishable, don't you think?
Like Magnus.
Like Magnus is clearly a boy.
Of course.
All right,
Like
here's
Whitney's
Natalie,
clearly a
clearly
boy.
a girl.
Here's another one that came
Like
from.
Pat.
This is in reference to last
Clearly a
week's show.
Josh.
Josh,
like
Oakwood
Pat.
Baptist Church, New Braunfels, Texas. For
New
the
New
record,
Braunfels, I remember this guy. We met him at Pass It On.
you know your enthusiasm is making up for Josh's
Oh, good.
lack of. Yeah.
Woo!
There you go.
I'll keep stepping it up.
For the record, I'm from Texas, and we don't like Griffin's shirt either.
Oh wow.
Remember last week we talked about
Josh,
it
you
looked
can
like
be
it.
so
That's
cruel.
mean.
Wearing shirts that look like they came off picnic tables isn't a Texas thing.
It sure is.
It's a 20 years
That's
ago
awesome.
thing.
That's awesome.
But you
Which
kinda
is
got
where
another-
Texas is at 20
I-
years ago.
I would say I like this plaid, though.
You're
This
okay
is a
with this
pleasant
one?
plaid.
Same cut of shirt, still a cowboy shirt, but I went with a little bit of infused with pink.
Yeah, and-
No,
light
that's
blue
not
today.
pink. That's,
That's red.
I'm colorblind as
This
well.
is like a picnic table in the sense that it's
And
very red, white, and blue.
colorblind.
Or
Actually.
color dumb. There's a difference.
I'm colorblind, and
That's a bit.
Which
Doug
is-
would say that he's color dumb. He's used that many times before.
well, I'm colorblind. And did you know that on the links last week we did we did find a Doodling is Genius link.
Is that right?
If you doodle,
Yeah,
you're a
sure.
genius.
There's
So I
some moron
quickly
out there
today-
on the web that says that, of
Yeah,
course.
that's true.
You can find
All right.
anything you want to support on the internet.
Hey,
All right, I'll
podcast gang.
find a
This
link
is
for
from
that.
Todd Fife.
Just like scripture.
Woodland Church, Woodland Christian Church, Knoxville, Tennessee.
All right.
He says, I just watched 38 and almost had to leave my desk here at work because I thought I might bust a gut from the hilarity of ripping one. Was that last week? I thought it was 2 weeks. Or last
No,
week.
that was last week when you claimed that Matt.
Okay, but this is saying
Past
38,
gas.
and now we're
Oh.
doing 40, so is this 39?
No, this is 40.
This
Oh,
is
you know, the
40.
numbers
Must have
really
put-
aren't important.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
we're
I
not
thought it
all
was.
about
I
numbers
thought it was
here.
last week. We're at the very end of the podcast. I said, Matt just totally ripped one, and that was so loud it could be heard on the podcast. He writes, as sad as it is, I went back to the spot
Oh,
of the gas,
no.
turned the volume up, and watched it a few times just to get another laugh from watching Matt strain for 30 seconds or more,
Did you see this?
I always get a
strain
look at my
right
face.
there?
It's not. Is it? Was it 30 seconds?
thinking he might have to leave if he pushed any harder, and then finally rumbling the poor innocent chair in which he was sitting.
Wow.
There's
Oh
nothing
my
innocent about the
gosh.
chair.
Can you do a
That's
dramatic
horrible.
reenactment for the camera today?
just
That's
did.
funny.
That was
That makes
awesome.
me want to go back and
Yeah.
find, okay,
I
this
know.
is 38,
Yeah.
but I'm a little confused on the,
Numbering system?
yeah.
Yeah,
We are too, though. It's okay. This
it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
Yeah. Got a question here about from Paul
Oh, youth
Nather,
ministry?
Century Baptist Church in Bismarck, North Dakota, and he spends a little time saying that a bunch of this was sent in December, so they might be there.
Congratulations. Hey,
All right.
Prepping the podcast.
who is
Josh
in
is
charge
I
of
thought
doodling
that?
I
right now
thought maybe
to
that was
support his
I
own
thought maybe
point.
that was
That's right.
Josh's. That's why he was down because I made a comment about
I-
I haven't seen the emails until I just walked in here.
I thought for
No.
sure that was it.
No.
But actually, he came in a little bit.
Yeah, because you
Guys!
you don't need to
Let
prep
it go.
The, you don't
Josh,
need to prep
why
the
don't you just
podcast.
do a little bit of catharsis right now?
That'd be great.
Why don't you have a little
I
bit of
just-
catharsis by sharing what it is that is up in your grill?
I have nothing up in my grill. I just
Really?
am
What is
not-
it? Wrong side of the bed?
No. No.
I've been up since 4.
Someone pee in your cereal?
Angela
Didn't
smack
have
you in
any
the back of the head?
breakfast.
as you
no,
walk
she
up?
should probably, but no.
Was it my cupped hand of support?
No, that was very reassuring.
All right, here we go. Anyway, Paul says a bunch of youth workers are going to Cameroon, West Africa, and they're going to do some youth ministry training. And his question is, have you ever done any teaching in developing countries, and are there any resources that you would recommend putting into the hands of these churches? And because you may already be there, Paul, what I would say is that anything...
Why don't you give us what you used?
Yeah. Well, what we do say is that we charge people in North America so we can give things away around the
Right.
world. And so any of you that are doing youth ministry training in developing countries, third world countries, you have to keep everything low cost. And we would be happy to give stuff to you that you could then pass on to them. We have a very loose grip mentality here. So if you are going somewhere in the third world and you need resources, contact
All right. Andy.
Jack.
At simply
Jack at
Andy
simplyyouthministry.com.
at 50mileride.com.
Here's a podcast from Mike, and I don't know the church. He says, I want to throw
Oh.
thanks for the
Oh.
podcast.
You're welcome.
He says, I've been involved in this current youth ministry for about a year and a half. I originally came to the church following graduation. I came to the church with my girlfriend, now my fiance, and volunteered as an adult helper. Long story short, he's moved from a volunteer to now they have made him the youth pastor. I feel like there's a struggle to get support of the adult volunteers. Some are supportive, others are not. Often their allegiance seems to be to the previous youth pastor who was quote-unquote successful. Not only that, but my fiance grew up in the church, and these adults were leaders in the youth ministry when she was in it, many of them having children her age. I have casted a vision, tried several times to get them on board and supportive with the team, but there is some struggle for several members. I really want this ministry to succeed and thrive for God, but if the leaders are not on board, it seems it will only undermine the goal. What can be done?
I say email us back with some specific examples of the struggle. What is the some struggle that you're experiencing? I mean, because it's easy for us to talk about leadership principles and cast vision and everybody's got to be on the bus and, kick people out or whatever. I mean, we can speak in generalities, which is probably going to be helpful to some, but I would suggest, I mean, if you've got some volunteers that are with you, vision-wise and all this support-wise, and some that aren't, it just depends on what the ones that aren't. It depends on what they're doing.
Yeah, well, let's go general because that's what he's given us here. So,
Yeah.
I would say some general ideas is, I would say, Mike, you have your, in this type of setting, because they moved you from a volunteer to a full-time youth pastor, I think your pastor needs to chime in with support, whether that is a letter from him or her to the volunteers, whether it's he or she showing up to the volunteer training and, passing the mantle and
Cheering
saying,
on,
here's what
yeah.
I'm, Mike is our guy. I would also say that really what you're describing, the reason I think we can go general a little bit on this, Matt, is what he's describing is pretty much 75% of all leaders in the ministry anyway,
I
if not
agree.
more, that, not everybody is on board. So, you've got to keep going. You're never going to get everybody on board unless it's really, really small team and it's just you and your fiance. You invest in those who get it. You lead with the leaders. I would say, meet one-on-one with those who don't get it and see if you can't forge some type of relationship or ask why or see if there's something deeper or maybe they're in a bad mood like Josh, whatever. But one-on-one and, don't give up.
Yeah, and don't, maybe if it's not really hindering the ministry, then let them hang on. I mean, try and help them. Try and help them to get on board. Try and understand them. I mean, you can't just talk down to them or tell them what they need to know or what they need to do. But you try and understand, build that relationship, like you said, and you try and bring them on board. But if they're not hindering the ministry that much, then that's okay. Rely more on the other people.
As long as they're not divisive.
But if they are divisive, then you gotta cut them loose, and you gotta have a real. And that shouldn't be your first meeting.
Yeah.
You shouldn't sit down with them and say, "Hey, you totally suck. Goodbye." I mean, as funny as that is,
That's your second meeting.
that's your second or
I didn't
third
think
meeting.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Did anybody else think that was funny?
No, not actually doing it. I think would be funny.
You know what I think's funny? The fact that you're wearing a Tony Hawk
Oh my gosh,
skateboard shirt.
dude,
That's funny.
it is very funny.
Well, you're just a skater.
I woke
boy
up
at
this
heart.
morning literally, and I saw this in the closet, and I'm like, "What's this doing here?" And it was the next. Usually, the way I pick my shirts is whatever the next shirt is on the rack. Is
You
it?
thought I'd like to have
So-
this design in my armpit.
That's what my wife must have thought.
Oh, she bought it for you?
Of course, I don't buy any of my clothes.
Wait,
Oh, I
so
just
you
bought a pair of
go-
shoes.
Whatever order your shirts are in, that's just what you wear the next day.
Yes.
How do you pick out pants?
Usually I just wear Levi's.
So just the same
Yeah.
pants, pretty much.
And then you put on shirts in the order.
How
that
do you
they're
pick
in.
out your shirt?
But
Yes.
he did.
That's clever. I think that's really clever.
Clever
And
or
have you
simple?
thought about changing that
I
process
think
at all?
it's
I was going to
clever.
say, of anybody to talk in this room,
Yes.
This is new. I've never seen
not
new.
that before.
It looks new.
that's,
It looks like a
Yeah, I
like
don't
a
think I've
speaking
ever seen
shirt,
it.
Like you
well,
wear
it's
it at
not a
church.
speaking shirt because of the fine, tight line, so I don't wear this when I speak at church. And,
Oh,
Really?
wow.
yeah, because
Fine,
they
tight.
don't like it for the camera.
Oh,
They get
okay.
upset at
It
that.
actually makes them invisible.
But you do
It's a
have
good
kind of
color.
skater shoes on.
Oh, I've got a
Skater
pair of
shoes.
Vans.
Do you have a skateboard?
I wish.
We should go to the
How
skate
well
park.
Peralta
We
for
should
life.
film a
Oh
podcast
my
from the
gosh!
skate park up the
Let's do
street.
that
Etney Skate Park.
Let's
at
do it.
the skate park.
I'd need
Not
some
about it.
Etney
Well,
shoes.
next
Maybe
year's our
they'd
1 year
sponsor
anniversary.
us.
We actually probably need
We
to
should do some kind of a big
do
deal.
something special, like maybe
I'll bake a cake.
maybe the
Cupcakes.
one of the colleges could send a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
We could have a new
We could open some boxes. on the
podcast
By
show.
endorsed
Wednesday.
by-
I like
We're
it.
taping on
yeah,
Wednesday.
we had 2 weeks in a row. Two
Yeah.
weeks in a row of people sending stuff, and so
Yeah.
this feels a little
Super fun.
anticlimactic.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah.
Was it really?
Maybe
That
that's
might
why you're
actually- Why I'm depressed. There's no box, guys. What are we gonna do?
No, you know why you're sad. You just don't want to say.
No, you don't
Confirm
know why
it.
I'm sad.
No, I don't. I said you know why you're sad.
Oh.
You just don't want to say.
Maybe.
Can you confirm or deny that?
Maybe so.
Why you can't
he's
even confirm or
confirming and
deny
denying
that? I'm not asking you to tell us what it is.
Does
And
anybody else think
he
this is
doesn't
the
want to talk
smallest
about
cup
it anymore.
You've ever seen
It's
for
a
the
quad.
biggest man?
It's a quad espresso.
Deflection.
It's the
Here we go.
strongest drink. You can't even confirm or deny that you know what it is that's
I don't
making you
think he
sad.
wants to talk about it anymore, Matt.
Look, guys, a
That'd be the
podcast.
best.
This is a email from Bethany Boring. We have
Oh, we haven't heard from her in a really
we
long
haven't heard
time.
from her in a long time, and
She's done a good job.
Oh,
Well,
she did?
you know what?
She
Yeah.
did. I remember she wanted to change.
Well, the
churches, I
interesting
thought.
thing about this is a lot of times we've talked about sometimes that environment is just so unhealthy that you're probably not going to make it a healthy environment,
Right.
you know, in and of yourself. And
Are
you
you
know,
talking about churches or this podcast?
I'm talking about
Both.
churches, but you know.
But Josh is bringing down the podcast by not telling his
I'm a
good
little-
friends what's
Wait,
going
do you
on.
guys have to come into the podcast and do confession?
When am
every
I?
week?
When am I not honest about what's going on with me? I'm honest.
Well, yeah, but nobody will care. So I don't even want to bother everybody because it
nobody
doesn't matter.
will. Nobody will care.
I barely care.
Let's have an email contest. Everybody email Josh if you care to hear his.
You
don't
barely,
even care
you
right
barely
now.
care is the funniest thing you've said in weeks.
He's gonna blog about what's getting him down
I
if
will
we
not.
get
I
Hey,
will not. I will
all right.
Dad,
if we get
Dad?
100 requests.
That was from
There's
when
no
your daughter
way.
had a party in here.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, they had an overnighter, and they TP this room?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my daughter's 12, and her 10-year-old party we had in here, we just did a bunch of games in the warehouse, stuff like that, and we TP'd stuff, and there's toilet paper still stuck in here. Anyway,
It's like
12
the
now,
Wiener
that was her
Schnitzel
10th.
Christmas decoration.
Bethany Boring,
True.
Yes, we're back.
Bethany Boring, who
Bethany.
has changed environments. You know, she's also talked
She's now
about
an
the
aquatic animal.
what matters, what matters most about talking about some of the things about time and
Yeah.
boundaries and things. She said things are going great in her new environment.
Where's she located?
In Illinois.
Ooh, it's cold.
She says, I'm just hanging on, trusting God. She says, and I need to add, I said no so many times since I started here, and the reaction amazed me. Yeah, that's kind of the, you know, what matters most, the big idea is
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
no is better than
What
yes.
was the reaction?
Which might not be a good way to start off a new job.
No.
Or it might be
I
a good
disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Well,
Can you do
boundaries.
your
Here
job?
we go.
No.
Set the tone right ahead of time.
She's
Yeah.
saying no to what is protecting her.
She's
the
setting her
entire
boundaries from the
she
get-go.
she puts entire in caps. The entire staff met and reestablished ground rules for a balanced life. No more putting in hours, just getting done what needs to be done. Days off are mandatory.
Nothing like legalism.
Sounds like a good change for her.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
we.
she's doing?
Huh.
She is the ministry to special needs kids in her youth ministry.
Oh, no
that's
way.
neat.
Wow. Cool,
That's
Bethany.
That's
For those of you who
awesome.
don't have you couldn't hear Andy's little
Yep.
mountain bike whisper that she is having ministry to special needs kids in her church. That's great.
Brazen would have appreciated your ministry when he was in high school.
As he attended on a weekly basis.
Brazel, your ears qualify you as special needs. You guys laugh because you know it's true, right?
That is a funny line. Well, when you get Nadeem to just show emotion,
Yeah.
that was, I mean,
Yeah, that's impressive.
yeah, he leaned back in his
He
chair.
thinks it every day because he barely.
He has to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he has to
Nadeem,
be-
is that the first thing you notice when you walk into Andy's office? Because really, like the headphones that you're
ears.
wearing, to us, you look like Andy right now.
Jeez. Well, what it is what you don't know is that Brazel actually takes two salaries. He has a Simple Youth Ministry salary, and then Dish Network also pays him a salary because they attach a cable to each one of those ears, and he gets to download stuff.
I'm speechless.
That's funny.
It is hot in here. That's
Yeah.
true. But
So let's talk about how sad
That
Josh
is
is.
intentional.
This is from
I'm
Joe Incel, Believers Community Church, Batesville, AR,
Arizona.
Arkansas.
Arizona.
Arkansas.
Oh, God.
You're right. That's AZ.
Hey, but you just
A year into the show, and we still
Get her. We can get her.
I thought AR meant he was
Really?
in
It's
AR.
Arkansas?
AR, Alaska.
There
Unbelievable.
is an R in Arizona.
But
There
not
is
in Alaska.
Not one in Alaska.
Brazel like the anal
Gosh.
retentive comment.
Wow.
We heard you can't stop at everything.
That's true.
Yeah.
He says we're trying a new student leadership program, trying to get it up and running. I've read Doug's book, Help I'm a Student Leader. Loved it. It's everything a youth pastor wants student leaders to know, but can't always tell them. What is the best way to run a leadership program besides just handing them a book and saying, ready, go? We used to do a once-a-month leadership meeting, told them our expectations and what needed to be done, but nothing came out of it. They all acted the same and nothing got done. how do you guys run your leadership program? I don't think it's a bad idea to hand them the book and say, ready to go.
We also have
Yeah,
Legal
especially-
Student Edition available.
That was a joke that
I was
maybe
totally
that was a joke that might escape some of our podcast listeners who
Should we
don't
talk
have-
about the writing of Help I'm a Student Leader?
Yeah, that was the one book in the last 11 years of my life that I failed you utterly on.
All right, let's talk about it.
Wow.
That's
Oh,
That
we
feels like
took
a
a
good
day
subject.
and a half. We took a day, a night, and a day to go down to a little beach trailer, get out of the place to go write. And the whole
To go
time
edit,
we were
kind
there.
of final edits.
Yeah, it was
just
the
like,
final
Matt,
stretch.
read through it, and you got any
Yawning.
comments, anything like
Bored.
that. Matt
Step it up.
was checking his email. He was.
I had a-
the press.
It had a
checked
high
out.
school ministry to run that I just could
No,
not
he
put
had-
on the back
He
burner.
had checked out.
Yeah.
And
He had checked out. I actually
So
think
he
he
didn't
quit
help with
about
the
a year
book.
before he actually quit.
Oh.
He was dealing with
That's
how do I actually tell
cold.
Doug?
Yeah.
Well, that was
Yeah.
2 years before I.
Well, maybe then that's the answer.
Oh gosh.
Well,
Gosh.
here's the
Well,
deal
the
on-
thing is too is that you weren't just killing me there, but it was like 2 weeks later you had re-edited on your own, and you're like, McGill, I just re-edited this whole thing. It totally sucked. Where were you down at the trailer? And it was
Oh
like,
wow.
I go, dude.
I don't remember
Failed
that
you.
part.
Yeah,
Does it
there was a
smell
back around.
like coffee breath in here? From you and you? I just smell breath.
So wait,
Well,
should people read this
let
book
me know.
then? Is it good? I mean, did the final product end up great?
Oh yeah,
And
it was
we-
just
we
no
love
help
it.
of Matt. But
Wait,
pray.
okay, so back to
Yeah.
it though.
Are you saying prayer doesn't work?
There's
I
a book
pray.
that's available.
well, here's
But
the
how do
deal.
you
I wrote Help
recommend-
I'm a Student Leader for. I wanted our kids. It was one of those deals where you know what, if other people learn from it, great. But I wanted our students to, get into it. One of our kids who was a high school senior. At the time, Alyssa Holiday read each chapter and then responded to it in the book, and kind of giving a kid's perspective. Yeah, I think it's real helpful. What I would do is, I think you don't. His comment here. We used to meet once a month and told them our expectations, what needed to be done, but nothing ever came out of it. Now I know there's more to it than that,
Sure,
and you
of
can't
course.
just take that phrase at face value. But I think you establish the values ahead of time for a student leadership program, and then you have kids opt in or not. So as opposed to saying, who are the kids who are kind of cute, fun, and popular, or kids that seem like they would be good student leaders,
Or just
and then
here all the
pulling
time.
them together and saying, here are the values. I think you establish the values ahead of time, the expectations ahead of time, and then you lay those out and allow kids to opt in or say, you know what, that's too intense. I can't meet those requirements.
Well, and with all that was an application.
Yeah, what we
Yeah.
do is we give an application, we have a meeting, and we kind of the same thing we do with our
That's what it
volunteers.
sounds like to me. Yeah.
And but we raise the bar because I think there's a high requirement there, and then when you're looking for things to train them with, I think you use the book and you say, hey, let's read a chapter a month and let's discuss it. So read it before you come to the student leadership meeting and let's talk about it. How does it flesh itself out here in this setting?
But we would still meet once a month, kind of on the same vein that he's got going there. We would meet with our student leaders and help them
How'd
too.
you do it in Michigan?
Really similar, actually. Yeah, we would meet once a month, typically before a weekend program, and talk about what was going on and where we needed help, and cast some vision for how they could change the youth ministry in the world. And the kids jumped in. I mean, not all of them did, but
Yeah.
the
Did you
core
teach them
kids
about
did.
authenticity and transparency?
Yes, I did.
Well, there is
Did you
a
demonstrate this to them?
there. Did you just blog
I was
later
blogging
today
about it.
about why you're down?
I think you're holding too many secrets in with the whole shirt thing.
I
So
should
you
just
don't know
spill.
what. Yeah, you just need to let it go.
There are a couple types of leadership styles. One of them is to just
At least
get
a
kids who are always around and say, "Hey, you're always around. You're leaders." And what those kids tend to do is plan more activities for what they would normally show up to. There's the other thing where you got kind of some trouble kids, and you go, "Hey, the way to people." There's a philosophy that says the way to turn trouble kids around is to put them in leadership.
Give them more responsibility.
Yeah, the problem I have with that is, it just validates troublemaker? Here, be a leader. And I think in the student leadership, smaller is better. Go small. Invest in a few. Don't make it something that every kid in your group can be involved in. I mean, Jesus hung out with a small group of people, and had it for a model for us, and 2, obviously had tremendous impact. But 3, obviously had that whole God thing going for him.
Don't you think the difficulty though is if your student leadership group is small, a couple kids, then you're going to get the whole favoritism. You're always hanging with them. You're always.
Yeah, that's why you don't announce it. You don't put it in the bulletin. You don't make a big deal out of it. You don't meet right before church service. Maybe I mean that's not.
Right.
It's
more of a
criticism. That's just
mentorship.
Well,
student
it is.
leadership
It
instead of
is
a big
favoritism
program.
in some way.
No, I'm okay with that
I'm
too,
spending
right.
time with leaders, and I think if a kid or a parent or somebody challenges you, say, "Gosh, I would love to spend more time with Timmy," but Timmy's involved with so many things at school
Right.
that he really doesn't have time for what we're doing. So here, I'd love to show you our student leadership expectations and values and what we do, and if you and Timmy think he could be involved in that, boy, it'd be
We
great.
love it. Yeah.
If Timmy wasn't such a moron, maybe I'd hang out with him.
That's another
That's
angle.
what the mom kind of hears, maybe.
Maybe on the second meeting you'd go for that.
Yeah.
Well, Joe also wrote.
You still sleeping over there,
A
Natalie?
little bit.
In Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry, chapter
4.
What are you going to
10.
talk about?
kind of explains some of, when it says, what do you do in your student leadership program, is kind of walk that through kind of step by step there. But Joe also wrote, P.S. I read Josh's blog every day,
All right.
sometimes twice a day.
Oh, well,
I
thank you for
understand
being
why.
loyal.
If you check back again, there's going to be more added.
We
Do you know
think
that his blog is a marketing machine?
we think a lot alike is what it says.
We
Check
think a
out
lot alike,
mine
that's
Are we not supposed to
sometimes.
talk about
Let me
this?
see this one.
Check out mine sometimes, wanderingouthtsbyjoe.blogspot.com.
Wandering
Hopefully there's not
thoughts.
too much heresy on there.
Well,
You
we're
just,
not promoting. We're just
okay.
saying. He said, check it out. A marketing machine.
Have you heard this?
No.
Brazel, have you told him this yet?
What do you?
That a lot of people go from Josh's. What I have heard is a lot of people visit Josh's blog.
And then go to the SYM website. Because he's got he now has 4 or 5 sentences of content
Yeah.
and 45 advertisements around. You can Google
They're not all
this.
SYM advertising.
They're not all
Just about.
SYM.
The Google words aren't, but that's because he gets paid by Google words to have that up there.
He is working the blog.
He's a blog
world.
entrepreneur.
It's very
He's a
impressive.
blogger.
Guys, there was a
Entrepreneur.
great article this past
How much
week
have you
in
made
Fast
through
Company.
Google Ads?
I've made $180 through Google Ads.
So how many
That's
goats
really
is that going to
cool.
cost?
About $50 a month.
By the way, I've made none.
Oh,
How's your blog doing?
Not super. I
Wait.
enjoy it when I
Well,
get on the
since you
kick.
blog on
Click the
company
ads.
time, that money's going to go to the goats?
absolutely not.
No, that is just
You know what,
smart
though?
What
for
is
himself.
what is company time?
Exactly.
Well, he gets a lot of airtime on the company podcast, which is why people go to his blog.
Okay.
Wait, so you're saying if we never talked about my blog on the podcast, it would die?
Not now, but
Oh.
when it's got started, you would have had a handful of the Force.net geeks, and that was it.
Really? We've talked about your blog that much?
I don't remember even talking about my
Oh
blog,
I don't
think
but
we
I'm
have.
glad we
What?
have now.
We talk about almost every 2 podcasts. We talk about how
Really?
he blogs 45 times a day, and Doug said,
funny.
"How much time do you spend a day blogging?"
Oh, actually, the first
How
episode we
much
did
time
talk
do you
about
spend about
blogging
blogging?
because that prompted the first
Let's
bet
just keep
between you
talking about it, guys.
Tell Joe thank you for his link from his blog to Simply Youth Ministry.
Does he have one on it?
Andy just checked in real
Oh.
time and
Oh.
looked at Joe's blog.
And he
says
links
thank
to
you.
Simply Youth Ministry.
That
There
was
it is.
really
There's Joe's
confusing.
blog
to
on
You
me.
the
have
video
made Andy's
podcast.
day. That was more fun for Andy than seeing his name in the paper.
I thought for a second that this
Is
was
there
a
a
real
tool
time
on Google
feed.
that you can see how many things link to your
Oh
website?
gosh, I am so bored with the blog talk
Wow.
right now.
Technorati.com.
We're so cool.
Tells you how many things link
How
to
many
your
backlinks
website.
there
You guys want to
Yep.
do this afterwards?
Oh,
Hey,
really?
When you
Look-
little blog boys.
Look, old man, I realize you barely even know what a blog is.
Yeah, I know.
But the rest of us out there
Are
in
thoroughly
internet land are
entertained.
thoroughly entertained.
No,
by
Yeah.
this.
well, good. You guys can read about it on each other's blogs, but considering I'm reading the letters, this is my blog right now.
This is. It's a
Audio blog.
This is your
video
blog.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And
Jay Bruner, Little Rock
Hi, Jay.
First Baptist Church of the Nazarene,
Little Rock
AR.
is Arkansas. But I'm.
See that? Yeah, you weren't
But-
even listening to the abbreviation.
Doug,
Isn't
Matt,
it the capital
Matt
even?
should be grounded from your house for a month. I could hear his nostril hairs sway with every breath. He was so loud.
I didn't mean to print this one. I'm
So
sorry.
loud, I couldn't hear the one I love listening to for advice. Natalie.
I was just gonna say, it's gotta be an Andy or a Natalie coming right there.
Was it intentional? Was he trying to make a statement? Is he the big man now?
Oh,
I
Wait,
was
I didn't
waiting
get
for this moment. It's mutiny.
Matt overpowered.
wow.
Speaking of mutiny, did you know there's a
The
new
necklace.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie coming out?
Oh, it
Whoa.
looks so good too.
Whoa.
Anyway,
Not
says
a chance.
make some comment about my age, but the reason
Oh, we
Hey,
skip
you're
over
just
that,
Like us.
huh?
You're a
That's
friend. You're a friend of ours.
I will stay in youth ministry. You will stay in youth
Oh.
ministry. Actually, that's I pray God's will is that you all stay on the air because that's what we're on the
We're
air
actually on
Well,
the air.
wireless.
for as long as I stay in youth ministry. Actually, that's probably not a good prayer because I am getting Doug's age.
Oh, you
I'm
are
getting
getting
Doug's
up
age.
there. Have you made funeral arrangements?
So
Something like
I
Ooh.
withdraw
My name
2
is
words.
Zero.
Matt would
Somebody
love him.
saw that.
My last and pray that you stay in the air as long as there is youth ministry.
Oh, well, that would be awesome.
Wow.
That was kind of a heartfelt, tender moment.
Yeah.
You had a birthday last week, or a couple weeks ago, so it feels like it's appropriate.
Yeah,
Talk.
I'm old. It's a great. If you're gonna be in your 40s, 44 is just a
Mid-40s.
cool. I think 44 is
Yeah, that's
cool
a pretty
because
good age.
Reggie Jackson was number 44. 44 just
Oh,
seems like
wow.
a cool number.
I would think 42
Yeah, 11,
would be a
11
highlight.
times 4, 44. It's cool.
If I'm gonna choose a 40 number,
You're going 44?
44 or 45.
I'd go 42.
45 is kind
44 is a big
of
number.
slippery
Yeah,
slope.
Nadeem.
45 just screams power.
Yeah, Nadeem just chimed in. 44. That woke him up.
Wow.
I like even
44.
years. 22 was good for me. 24 was good for me. Not like the other years were bad.
How old are
Just
you
good.
right now?
Well,
26.
Oh,
Here's a
even year.
legit-
that's the
She's
definition
not
of 1
depressed.
year being good.
A legit question. 26.
When the sun's
Do you
out,
remember
it's a
that?
good day.
If you divide your age by half, add a couple, that's how old Natalie is.
Well, if I was 18, I could have fathered a child that's 26
Wow.
when I was 18. Not if I was 18,
That was
because
a
I actually was
confusing-
18 at one
I
point.
have no idea what just happened. It's probably better just not to
If
even
you were
rewind.
in the fathering business when you
At
were
the age
18.
of 18, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Be
there
my
really
father?
a business?
Is that the
I
point?
did,
I don't know.
Siberia.
wow.
As an
The
18-year-old, I'm
Rus-
sure I
that's
was
where
in
the Russian
the,
brides come from.
sure I was in the mental part of that business, thinking
Yes,
about it.
well, and if you do it in your mind, it's
Look.
just the same thing.
Look, guys, emails.
All right.
Neat.
Thank you,
Neato. Read emails, Doug.
We just had the Sermon on the Mount.
Blessed.
Blessed.
Yeah.
we go.
Every verse to destroy a young man's Matthew
I know.
5:28.
Man.
Oh, you think you're pure? Ha ha! Read this. All right. Jimmy Scott.
But he left listening.
Jimmy.
We can do whatever we want right now. Everyone has turned it off.
What if,
Then
what if
why don't you share?
Unbelievable.
You'll feel better, I can guarantee.
I have nothing to share.
I've always used
I know
tables.
you have nothing to share.
I've always
It makes me want to gag. You've got nothing to share.
Matt just
What
took a
was
drink,
in there that made you spit that
Nothing.
out?
I just was talking and drinking at the same time, and should
which
have done
is
that.
Which is
quite the act. Here is a
Tell
question.
us.
I have always used tables during our student worship service
Oh,
since I
so
came
did
across
Jesus.
the idea from PDYM. In 8 years of youth ministry, we've never had a worship band, but recently we've
Neither
got
did
somebody
Jesus.
to play on Sunday and lead the worship. I'm experiencing a new challenge with the tables since we started singing. Do you have the students stand at the tables? Do we have them all come up to the front so they're together? We have some mixed opinions. And students feel awkward at the tables. They like being together. Some students like the table because of the security blanket. We have mixed it up, sometimes in front together, sometimes at the table. What do you guys do, and how have you experienced this in ministry? For those who maybe aren't, what do you mean by tables? As opposed to sitting in rows, they've brought in round tables, and kids are sitting around tables for a little more communal.
Yeah.
For those of you not
environment.
familiar with tables, there are these flat,
Flat
objects
surfaces.
that are about 3.5 feet up off the ground.
Bit
Usually,
That
there's
Matt
a
usually
chair.
sits 3.5 feet from.
Oh, so you're trying to say I'm fat?
Is that what? I didn't even catch that. He's
No,
fat?
but you know what? Last week after the podcast, me and Kathy and Matt went out to Del Taco for just like a little half-hour catch-up, and we sat in the booth, and Matt slid into the booth, and he was so he just did one of these, like his arm was up, and I said, "Are you okay?"
Those booths are
True.
small, though. In your defense,
Oh yeah,
they are
no,
small.
yeah. And I was just kind of like, I was the only one in my chair, so I was just like reclining.
I just felt bad, like we had greased you up and slid you in there.
I'll tell you what's the worst booths is Wiener Schnitzel.
They are a
Man.
little tight.
You'd think
And-
the people who go to Wiener Schnitzel are really fat because they're eating hot dogs all the time, so they have better booths. But
Actually,
not true.
no. Have you heard about the chili dog diet?
There you go. She's on a chili dog diet kick right now. It's true. Don't you choose a booth though if you can move the
You
table?
haven't?
You're
That's
more
the
likely
whole
to choose to go into
Branding.
a booth.
Speaking of
Chili dog
tables,
diet.
Look,
Scott.
tables in a youth group.
Jimmy Scott, here's what I'd say is that I know that when we got to Saddleback and we were at a high school and we were all sitting in rows in a theater because they were theater seats. As soon as we moved onto the church property and I brought tables in, and most of the kids did not like the tables because they felt like the singing wasn't as good. And yeah, it's probably I actually like the distance because I have a terrible voice and don't want people to hear me sing, so
We
it
agree.
didn't bother me at all.
No argument.
But you're always going to have a difference of opinion. The fact that it's new is the key factor here, because anything new is going to create a variety of opinion. And so I just think you go what feels best, if and great, mix it up a little bit.
And you can do combinations too. Chairs in the front, tables around the back. I mean, you don't have to go all tables.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and what he's saying is they're kind of singing time. Let's move them from the tables to come
Right.
up. That's fine. I'm part of me is going, if I'm bringing a friend who's never been to church before, and we sit at a table, I'm thinking, hey, this is cool. I can sit at
Right.
a table. Oh wait, now I have to move forward. What are they going to do to me?
And now they clump together at the front. That's not exactly maybe a seeker-friendly move. True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think singing around the
Yeah.
tables is fine. I think you can stand up 6 or 8 kids around a table and
It's just new. I mean, we've been doing
Yeah.
it for years, so
Yeah.
I'm a little biased to this because it works. Kids still sing, but there are a lot of kids who don't sing. But
Right.
there's people, you move them up front, there's going to be kids who don't sing.
I would say it's worth the pain. I think it's worth the pain to make the change. I love
Really?
tables. The relational aspect of tables will outweigh any
What about the
Worship
distraction?
worth.
What is
every-
the distraction?
worth it.
They're facing a person. You're much
No,
more
you
inclined
stand
to.
up and turn around and face the stage.
Yeah, so for example, if the stage was over there, we wouldn't all stand and sing and face
Each other.
each other. We would face.
Right. Still,
Unless we had
it's
a little
distracting.
hologram of a
Yeah.
band in the middle.
Oh, then we'd watch that, of course.
That would be very Star Wars like.
That's
I'd
right.
blog about that.
Belog about that.
I vote it's distracting.
Okay.
I would rather sit in.
Have you ever
stadium
done it
seats.
before? You have? You've sang around tables?
So you'd rather sit in more of a classroom setting, seats facing forward.
Yeah, but see, think about this with music. There's a variety of opinions about music. You can, I can't even get people in my
Totally.
own family to agree on music, let alone
So true.
a youth
Other
ministry.
than Jeremy Camp, of course.
Who doesn't like Jeremy
Yeah,
Camp, though, right?
which that was so nice of that guy to buy me an iTunes deal, and
Josh?
and I downloaded it onto my iPod.
Did he gift it to you?
He gifted
the
it to
whole
me,
CD.
Oh, that's
a
cool.
whole
A
CD,
whole
yeah.
Jeremy Camp CD.
And I went to listen to it, and my iPod was out of battery.
That's an
Aw.
exciting story.
How could you worship then?
Well, I
I'm kidding.
I just spun the thing. Then it was a record.
He's really
A
slow.
record.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, when you're 44, you'll.
I forgot about that.
So the variety of music, there's a variety of response in that too. So I think it's not a surprise to me when you write that there's mixed opinions. You're the leader. Evaluate what feels comfortable, what makes sense, what seems to get the most response, and stick with it. People will eventually. I've told this story a million times. They didn't want to sit at tables when we first came. And I didn't give up, didn't give in to the whining. The biggest whining at the beginning was the singing's not as good. And they just began to accept the tables. And then after, a year later when we had to pull the tables out for one weekend, you know, all the kids were like, "Where are the tables? Rows suck. I don't like this in the rows."
Exactly.
You know, that they had just, you know, change just takes time to stick.
Part of the advantage of tables, though, too, is especially for your volunteers, you can assign volunteers tables, and they have an easy target. That's my table.
Yeah.
And we just found, especially even student leaders, going back to that conversation, a real quick way to involve student leaders is this is your table for the weekend,
Yeah.
as opposed to a row or that area or zoning or table 4 is yours. Own it.
I love
Like a
tables,
waiter.
Me
but there
too.
are people who don't.
Two things on this. One, I would say who's complaining. If the people who are complaining are people who bring friends, or they're new people themselves,
Interesting. Listen, maybe.
then that to me holds more credence than, you know, the people that just kind of come and hang on and don't do much.
That's a good
But
point.
as far as the tables and stuff being a distraction, I don't think that they're a distraction so much during the actual singing, but maybe it is. I mean, we've never seen that. But during the service, there's definitely a lot more talking.
Absolutely.
And anytime we've brought a new staff person on at Saddleback, they've said, "Oh, there's so much talking during the service, and you know, if I were to change things, you know, have all rows, you know, people would be paying attention so much more." You know, and it's like, yeah, but maybe, but
you know, you're sacrificing the relational element.
yeah, then you're set. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's go to one last question. Matt Adams, Lafayette, Louisiana,
Matt.
Trinity Bible Church. I have a previous student who wants me to marry him and his girlfriend. He's only 19, and I really feel like they should wait. After talking to him, I knew that he's going to get married anyway. Would you choose to do the wedding to give you a chance to be a part of this momentous occasion in his life, or would you choose to not do the wedding because of reservations?
Fair question.
I would choose to not do the wedding.
Are you
If
serious?
you are concerned about the success of the marriage, you're now standing with them saying that you approve of them doing this. And
Of course you are. But for two people to get married, it's a decision between those two people. It's not anybody else's decision.
So would you not go to a wedding if you disagreed with the people who
I would
were
make it
getting
very
married?
clear in advance that I did not agree with the decision that they were making.
So what about people who are going to go to hell? You don't agree with that decision that they're going to go to hell. You
Can't-
make
can't
it
talk to
very
them.
clear to them that you are against their decision that they're going to hell. That's
if
a more
given the
important-
opportunity, a close friend, it sounds like
Given the
he's very
opportunity.
close to this guy.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I
that's
want
just an
you to
interesting
marry
thing.
me. Yeah, that seems kind of close.
Yeah, yeah.
I stand
Well,
firm
I'm
in
not
my
saying
point.
you should be quiet. You should say, "Hey, have you thought this through? Are you sure it's wise? Are you sure?" But ultimately, if he's going to do it, he's already said that to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he has made it clear to them. But now they're going to go through with it. So should
Yeah.
he
And
go
I'm
to the wedding, do the wedding?
Knowing all the points, my opinion is no.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'd still do it. No problem.
Yeah.
I would definitely be a part of the counseling, and I would.
And
make
even
sure
at
to
the end
walk
of the
with them.
counseling, the whole bit, you don't think they should get married.
If I really felt that strongly, I mean, I can't think of a time when I have, but I was married at 21 too, so 19 doesn't feel like that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I have some good friends.
Until you
with
have an
good-
18-year-old daughter.
Exactly. No, I've had some
Then
good
it's
friends.
ridiculously early.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but take age out of the equation.
Yeah.
Let's say it's another reason. I mean,
Yeah.
Can you think of another reason that would be unreasonable for two people to get married?
Lots of reasons.
Okay.
Any
So-
marriage could work, though. Any marriage could work. It's commitment between
But
the two
talk about authenticity.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in your heart that these guys ought to get married,
Oh, see, I guess I guess I would never believe that about anybody, because the ultimate
Right, that's,
criteria
I guess,
is
what I'm
two
saying.
people choosing,
Do I think something
not
is
compatibility,
unwise?
not human personality tests, not whether or not they're cute and have a job. But the ultimate criteria for marriage is, do two people choose to be married? So
so even in just in your heart, you just think it's an unwise choice. You would still.
the only thing that would deter me at that age is if their parents. I would still respect their parents.
Absolutely.
If their
Parents
parents
is a
weren't
big
behind
deal.
if their parents weren't behind the wedding, then I would respect their parents and
Yeah.
say, you know what, I can't do it. But
I guess for me, it's a little bit of a fair tension. I mean,
It is fair
You
tension.
two are quick to jump on opposite sides, but I think there's more to it than that. There's
like, what else to it?
Well, for me, if I couldn't, I would just say, you know what, I love you. I just, in my heart, I just don't feel like I can be genuine. I'll be here to support you, and encourage you. I just don't think I can do it.
Or how about committing to counseling and saying, let's reevaluate in 3 months and see.
Okay, and then they do the counseling, and you still don't feel they should get married.
Yeah, I think you make it really clear that what you've seen in the past 3 months, you don't feel like they're making a wise decision, and it would.
Yeah.
Yes,
so is the pastor
it would not be
ultimately
genuine
responsible,
for me.
or is this just some type of a feel-good thing? Are you responsible for the people that you married? Because people that I have performed the ceremony for have gotten divorced. They did good in
Yeah,
counseling.
see, that's-
they did all
that's
the right
my-
things, but is it my fault? Am I responsible someday?
I guess
for
there's
having
a
married
part
them?
of me
Yes.
that feels that way.
Absolutely.
Because then I'm screwed. Because
There's a
I'm
part of me that feels that way.
See, I mean, part of
And
me
that's-
thinks that all the counseling and all the premarital and all this, anyhow, it's still love is still a choice. At the end of the day, it's a decision.
right.
It's not. Doesn't matter how much practice you have beforehand. And biblically,
Yeah.
it's still a choice.
I mean, I think it's a
I
big
think
deal.
if I'm Matt Adams, and I can't stand in front of people and stand in front of these guys and feel like I'm honoring the Lord by being a part of this,
That's fair.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I would be
if
there
I
to.
wouldn't do it if I was fake. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my point.
But-
Okay, let's
I think
end.
it's a good
So
question.
basically
That's
everyone
fun. That's
agrees
that's
with
a
me.
totally new vein that we've never talked about, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And we have very different opinions.
Natalie, do we have a shout out?
We do.
Well, here's
have
just
a
this isn't
shout
a
out.
question. This is a Albert Alcorn, North Valley Christian Fellowship. Just to let you know, Arrested Development is the greatest show on television, except for Lost in 24, of course, which I actually like this guy.
And The
Arrested
Office.
Development isn't on
It's
television,
yeah,
but
it's
I
not on
agree.
TV
Not
anymore.
I just ordered season 3 off of Amazon a couple nights ago, but I did get the bird joke and could not stop laughing. But of course, this was in the middle of my sermon prep. So it's nice to know that
I'm thrilled.
Other people mess around during
I'm
their sermon prep
thrilled.
too.
that sermon prep has
Someone else
us
has
in the
an
background.
appreciation for
All right,
Joe,
next
but-
week is the anniversary show,
See you then.
and we will enjoy that, and
Good.
we'll figure out something.
Shout
Natalie,
out
do you have a
music?
shout out? Do we have any
Music?
shout out music?
Randy and Tanya,
Nice.
It was
husband and wife,
She should be
and
a dancer.
they're
Do you agree
volunteers.
that they're married? Are you,
I
you
hope
sure
their
it's
pastor
wise that
approved
they're
that
married?
they were married.
I don't
Because
know.
Natalie
I
reads
don't know.
prayers and marriages.
They are both volunteers at Celebration Church, and we just want to say thank you for all that you're doing to help Shay. And they claim, is Shay a guy or a girl?
Shay's got to be a girl.
I don't know. The podcast
Oh,
is
I'm
over.
so sorry,
ask
Shay.
Mackenzie.
Okay,
Good one.
Shay says that you are saving his or her butt all the time. So thank you so much for all that you're doing for your ministry over there. Cheers.
Andy, how many of these am I doing?
What are you doing right now?
I have no idea. Andy
You're
just.
signing.
warm in here.
I have to go to
signing
the
your new
dentist.
book?
I have a teeth cleaning at
Hey.
11. Do we say goodbye?